Right. So, good afternoon, everyone. So, just before this talk, I was telling Hanu that I should have gone first. It's always difficult to follow impressive speaker. So it's not just Hanu. So I think over the last few days, so we have heard a lot of impressive presentations and talks, and it's an honor to be here. So talking to you all. So let me start with a brief introduction of media. So let me ask a question. So how many are you people who are not in Yahoo, of course, are familiar with the media products of Yahoo? Yeah? So can you give an example of a media product, Yahoo's media products? They are very popular, so that's one hint. Anyone? Just give it a try. So any Yahoo website that you have used? So which could be a media website?
Yahoo Finance.
Yeah, so that's Yahoo Finance. So that's one of the very popular media website. So any other price? Yahoo? Cricket. Yep. Yahoo Cricket is an example of a media product. So there are like tons and tons of media verticals, right? So it is not just vertically organized, so it's also geographically split. Like cricket is very popular in India, and there are a few other products which are more popular in other regions. So media, so it's an organization. So the main focus is to, as the name implies, right? So deliver a rich media experience. What is meant by media is the videos and articles, images, blogs, as well as entities, right? So and provide, so use all this to provide a domain-specific experience to the end users. So that's the main focus of media organization. Some of the popular products, so Yahoo News, so that's a media vertical. So we have Yahoo Sports. Somebody said Yahoo Finance. So Yahoo Finance is another media vertical. So we have entertainment properties such as movies, TV, OMG, and quite a lot more, right? So one of the unifying factor, right? So across all these media verticals is, so they all acquire content, right? So the content is extremely critical to Yahoo, right? So we acquire content from variety of feed providers, and so we apply variety of different algorithms, and primarily from the perspective of understanding the content. So we understand the content, acquire the content, understand the content, and then serve the content which is personalized to the end user, right? So the two critical pieces are content understanding and then user understanding, right? So when you understand the content better, so you can deliver, and also understand the user better, so you can deliver targeted experience. So these are, so media is like tons and tons of entities in media, right? So some of the common entities, so are movies, right? So actor, TV shows, director, singers, celebrities, CEOs, politicians, companies. So these are all some examples of, this is not an exhaustive list, by the way, so just a sample of different entities that we deal in media. And you can see that it is extremely entity rich. So some examples, so I'm not going to give an exhaustive list of all ways by which entities are leveraged within media, but just giving a couple of examples. So this one, so this is a Yahoo finance page, and this is an entity page for Yahoo itself. So you can see that so a lot of entity information, so about the company. So you have daily and monthly charts. So you have historical information, you have key statistics, you have information about the board of directors, and you have ticker, so more real-time information like what's the ticker at that instant of time. And also you have content, right? So what's being circled in red, right? So that is that's the content. So you have content coming in, so which needs to be linked to the entity, right? So this is one example. So this is another example. So this is the content. So the previous case was the entity, which was linking to the content, and this is one example of a content linking to entity. So there's a news article, and that links to an entity, Halle Berry, right? So when you click on it, it takes you to the entity page for Halle Berry. So these are just two examples. So there are like variety of other possibilities. Hanu covered a few in his slides. So these are examples of entity to content and content to entity. There are also examples of how entities to entity could be linked, and content also could be linked to other kinds of content. So what's an entity? So I can hear you saying not again. So I'm sure, so the last 3 days, you must have heard at least like 5 or maybe more definitions of what an entity is. But thankfully, it's not very different. It's only a problem if they're all different, right? So thankfully, it's not different. So the entity is anything of interest. So we saw some examples of what an entity, so some of the examples of entity in the previous slide. So Brad Pitt, an actor. Arnold Schwarzenegger, so politician, so it could be a sports, so he was a bodybuilder, so he could be a sports person as well as an actor. And an example of a movie, so Prince of Persia, right? So these are all things of interest, and it is usually long-lived and has potential for continued interest. And an entity, so typically has related content, so articles and videos and photos. And an entity is also related with other entities. So we saw some examples before, and this is one example. So Prince of Persia has some actors. It's directed by Mike Neville. It is shot by Walt Disney Studios, which is a company, and it's shot in Morocco. Like, so in one sentence, so you have a movie entity, so you have a person entity, a director entity, a company entity, as well as a location entity, right? So nothing surprising here. So why does it need special treatment, right? So number one, so information, so as a few others have covered before me, so the information, so there's no one single source of information. So all this problem will not arise if there is one single source of information. So that's not the case, right? So there are multiple feed providers. So so a lot of presentation covered in depth about Wikipedia, Freebase. So those are one providers. So Yahoo Media, so it has a lot of premium feed providers. So provide content, so which is premium. So we pay for it and then we acquire the content. And so different feed providers might give different facets of the content, right? So to get a complete picture, so you have to consolidate all of them, right? So that is one reason. So the second reason is different aspects might come from different feed providers, right? One example, the information about movies might come from one feed provider. Information about the actors might come from different feed provider. Information about theaters might come from a different feed provider. Information about showtimes, so or box office, so details about when a movie is running in which theater, that might come from a different feed provider, and none of them have any common representations, right? So obviously the information is fragmented, so we need a way by which we can connect all the fragmented information together to get a complete picture. So the other reason why it needs special treatment, so not just the entity has to be consolidated and a unified picture needs to be presented, but also you have to recognize entities in the content. So what we mean by content is like an article or a blog or a video or a photo. So when it comes in, so you detect, so what are the, so using variety of different algorithms, so you detect what are the entities in that content, right? So so dictionary is one, so one of the ways of, one of the inputs to this process, but use variety of algorithms and also use the context and also the entity relationships themselves to derive at, improve the accuracy of the entity recognition in the content. So the third reason, so we talked, so unification of entity is one reason. So recognizing entities in content is the second reason. The third reason is, so we want to provide different views on the same entity. So based on the context. So one example is, somebody has a question? So one example is Jennifer Aniston, right? So who is or Arnold Schwarzenegger. So both are good examples. So they have different the persona. So they have different personas, right? So a politician persona, a sports persona, a movie persona. So you might want to, like, you come to movies.yahoo.com and then so look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. So you might want to present a different picture. So the entity is same, but you want to present a different view of the same person, right? So you want to do that, but at the same time, so you want to so cross promote content within Yahoo, right? So you want to redirect. So you might want to have a module as Arnold as a politician, so in a movie page as well, right? So that is that's another reason why entities need a special treatment. The last reason is the user, as I mentioned earlier. So a lot of web companies, so including Yahoo, it is all about connecting the right users to the right content, right? So it is not sufficient. So you have the best understanding of your content. You need best understanding of your users as well. So to do that, so you have to, so the entities so are extremely good tools because so they are so structured, right? So the previous world, so when we didn't have structured information, so it was very difficult to kind of infer so what the user interests are. So now, if somebody goes to a Prince of Persia page, so it's very clear that so he's looking for information, and we understand that it's a movie entity, and we can provide really targeted shopping or a local experience. We can even point him to, hey, so this movie is running in your local theater, just like 5 miles or 5 kilometers from your place, right? So you can provide targeted experience to the users, to the users. So what is the recipe for success? It's not one single thing, right? So there are multiple dimensions. So you have content. So you have so you need to have the best content possible. So if you don't have good content, so then so pretty much so it doesn't matter what the rest of the pipeline is. You need obviously you need to have the best algorithms. If you don't have best algorithms, you will not be able to understand your content well. So you might have best content and best algorithms, but if your architecture doesn't scale well to handle the various aspects of running a production quality system, so that's going to be a problem as well. And finally, so you need to have a best content, so you need to have best algorithms, you need to have the best architecture, and finally you need to provide the best experience. All these three are not sufficient. So if you are like the last mile experience, what you provide to the end user in terms of your user interfaces is not good, right? So all these are very critical. So we have talked a lot about algorithms so over the past few days. So I will, in the next few slides, so my focus will be more on the architectural aspects. So some of the challenges, and I'll not talk too much about the algorithm part. So here is a high level view of the architecture. So a little bit more so what we have today types in the system. So you have so one of the aspects for as far as the architectural constructs are concerned. So architecture is always evolving. So there is always a old architecture and a new architecture, right? And so we need to provide a smooth migration path as you evolve architectures. So you would have a legacy system. So you need to build some kind of adapter, so which would allow you to connect your old architectures with the new architecture, right? So that's the first point. Then you have these are the feed providers. So these are the content providers, entity providers that we talked about. So they provide us the feed. So we acquire the content. And once we acquire the content, so one of the interesting facts is that almost all these feed providers have their own unique IDs. So to improve the efficiency of the overall pipeline, so what we do is we short circuit. So if this entity is already disambiguated, so we don't try to do the disambiguation again. So we maintain certain mappings with using which we short circuit the disambiguation and pick up the corresponding disambiguated entity and update that particular entity with whatever information is coming in. So let's say that there's no mapping in the mapping store. So that's when the disambiguation algorithms kick in. So we arrive at a candidate set, right? So the candidate set is arrived from my entity index. So this is one of the possibilities. I'll talk about the other possibilities later. And so run disambiguation algorithms, right, on the candidate set. So once that is done, so unified representation of the entity, so goes to the entity store. So the data also flows all the way to an index, right, and gets indexed as well, so that it is searchable. And finally, so you present different views so on the content depending on what the incoming. So all these are offline, and rest of the portion is online, which happens during the serving time. So now, so let's talk about some of the challenges and also learnings as we went through this process. Right, it's a very fairly complicated exercise because there's a lot of parameters and variables. So let's talk about some of the challenges, some of the learnings that we had through the whole process. So the first one is the architecture has to be resilient. So beyond the algorithms, right? So one of the issues is that the data constantly changes. So the feed providers give newer and better data every time, right? So the architecture must be resilient to changes in the data. And not just the data, so even the disambiguation algorithms. So as you would have seen in the last few presentations, it's more of an art than a science. So that also constantly evolves. So newer and newer mechanisms, algorithms are discovered, and it improves constantly, right? So which means, so if you have when you are running a production quality system, right? So you have taken certain disambiguation decision at some point in time based on certain disambiguation algorithm, right? Which might be wrong. So now you have a newer algorithm. So your architecture must be resilient. So you should be able to go back and correct the changes automatically, right? It should be resilient to changes in either data or algorithms. So the second aspect of it is the traversal, right? So the index representation to search an entity. So that helps in a lot of cases, right? So in fact, majority of the experience that you see today is driven by the index representation. But there are also some complex use cases which demand something which is more than an index, right? So a graphical, so entity naturally, so it kind of it's conducive for a graphical representation. So we found that graphical representation is conducive definitely to for certain types of use cases, and index representation is more suitable for certain types of use cases. So to be more specific, so when you have when you know what your entity is and you want to get to certain associated knowledge about that entity, also which requires like a second level or a third level depth kind of a traversal, so then a graph is more suitable. So when you do not have a fixed entity, so then an index representation is more performant. Right? So the third learning is about curation, right? So something which is most commonly ignored, but something which is very critical. Right? Curation is merging or splitting and removing. So the problem is that it impacts not only the primary entity, but it also impacts all the other entities which are related to that entity. So if you have a representation, if your representation has to be very clean, so you should have fairly distinguished or fairly distinct normalized and denormalized representations. So your curation doesn't become a very complex task of trying to figure out what are all the other entities which are related with this entity. Extensibility. So disambiguation is fairly domain specific. So how you disambiguate a sports person might be, even within a person, right, person as an entity, how you disambiguate a sports person might be different from how you disambiguate with a movie person. So movie, you might disambiguate based on what are the different movies he has acted in, right? Whereas sports, it might be matches played or other domain specific factors. So the disambiguation is fairly domain specific. So one thing, so the architecturally, so what is required is a mechanism by which, so you can plug in your disambiguation logic. Other extensibility aspect is also about curation. So you need a mechanism, so where curation also could be, so one of the architectural challenges, because all of this requires some special kind of a focus. So it becomes difficult to build platforms which are extensible, right? So that's a challenge. So whenever we build architectures which solve the entity problem, so this is one of the important aspects that need to be taken care of. So entity recognition, so we have seen quite a lot about it. I'm not going to talk more about it. So, but basically, so it is not just about dictionaries, but also understanding the context and arriving, improving the effectiveness of entity recognition. So operability, right? So operability is one extremely crucial aspect, often ignored, but something which comes to bite us at a later point in time, right? So production, so you're running a production system which everything is constantly evolving. So your user experience is evolving, your data is evolving, your algorithms are evolving, right? So everything is constantly evolving. So that's a big challenge. So you have to design. So when we design systems, so we have to design from scratch for operability, right? So for example, so one important requirement is the ability to snapshot. Snapshotting is the important requirement. So the content has to be snapshotted, and you should have the ability to roll back, right? So you might want to so we have providers, we strike deals with providers, and the deal is usually time bound, right? And the license expires after some time. You strike a deal with different provider. So now what you need to do, you have to go and delete that content from the system for that provider. That is a huge challenge, because now you have disambiguated, right? So you have disambiguated and you have a unified representation. How are you going to go and pluck the content specific to that provider and remove only that? So that is not an easy job. So you have to think right from scratch and build systems to handle that. So consistency. So you have, as you see in the last slide, so that which gave a high-level overview. So you see that there are different blocks, right? And so the data goes and sits in multiple places. So it needs to be consistent with each other. Health probes and stale notifications. So those are all standard operability aspects that need to be taken care of. Independence. So you have multiple types of entities. We saw that. So we have movie entity, we have a celebrity entity, we have actor, and we get all feeds from different feed sources. So so we have to design the architecture in such a way that they are not very coupled with each other. So for example, I have a TV show and I have TV actors as a different feed. So there should not be a dependency. So I should not have to process one feed before the other, so that it gets linked, right? So the entity linking should happen irrespective of the order in which the feeds are run. So the next point is basically gradation. So not every decision is black and white, right? So usually we decide, oh, okay, so based on our disambiguation algorithms, the threshold is met, and this entity is, so what we are talking about is same as the other entity, right? But that's not a black and white decision, right? So you have like 80% confidence, or maybe you have 85% confidence. And so one of the interesting learning was that not every consumer of the system had the same expectations on the quality. For example, if I am building an Oscar site, so which has to display all the nominees so that somebody can go and vote. So the quality expectations are very high. I cannot show instead of Angelina Jolie somebody else, right? So that kind of totally messes up with the experience. But whereas some other websites or some other in some other context. So that high degree of disambiguation threshold and the quality is not required. So you can still afford to live with a lower threshold. Some regions are fine with that, right? So you have to build a system so which assumes and not make decision on behalf of the end whoever is consuming the system. So build gradation into your system. Right? So SEO and views. So now it's a contradictory thing, right? So we need to have multiple views so that you can target the experience specific to what the user wants. When I go to a movie site, I want to see movie profile of Arnold Schwarzenegger, not some other aspect of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I may be interested, but not as a primary content. But at the same time, so if you have different destination, it kind of dilutes the SEO, right? So you need to have some kind of a persistent ID mechanism which allows you to target and connect all the front-end serving aspects through this single ID. And that's a challenge because they are the requirements are contradictory. So you have to achieve a balance. So that's another challenge. So isolation, right? So sometimes what might happen is, so somebody gives really bad data. So now, again, this is a huge challenge because once you disambiguate, it's all one single unified entity, right? Somebody has given really bad data. That could mess up the whole system. So it could corrupt the whole system. So you have to build isolation, but that's easy to say but difficult to do because the nature of disambiguation is to unify, right? So now you have to some way unify but still maintain some distinct isolation between different content. So different content coming from different sources, right? So the last one is so standardization, efficiency, and you have to build self-serve tools which allow you to onboard these feed providers effectively, right? So now, so this is a very simplified representation. So which, so some of the principles, not all, so which we talked about earlier. So one of the things which is important actually, so the next slide captures it well. So I'll go to the next slide. But before that, so we acquire, we ingest, we deduplicate within the vertical, and then so we also need to separate out, right? So we have entities and we have relationship. It is not a good idea to merge them together. So we need to have a canonical entities, and then separate out the views from the actual content, right? So in terms of just a recap on the key points. So model, so we need to model the entities and relationships separately, right? So the important reason is entity management and curation. So it's a lot simplified when you don't embed the relationships along with the entities. So the second point, so should we do inline disambiguation? So as the provider's data comes in, so the feed provider's data comes in, so should we get the candidate set and then do the disambiguation algorithm at that time, or do you want to take it as a batch and run the disambiguation algorithm? So there are some advantages and disadvantages of both approaches, but the offline disambiguation is a lot more suitable. So to especially the point that I talked about earlier, so where you want to be resilient to changes in data and algorithms, so offline disambiguation performs better. So separate normalized and denormalized views, right? So you have normalized representation of entity, and for the sake of serving, so you need a denormalized representation as well, and that will be specific to the view or the destination it is targeted for. Augment index with a graphical representation to support traversal type use cases. And so the very important thing, do not make decision on behalf of the serving layer at the time of ingestion and at the time of offline when you are running the algorithms, right? So this is one case. So typically delaying the decision is not good, but this is one case where delaying the decision is good. So delay the decision and let the serving layer take the decision. For one example is the gradation. So grade it and don't take a decision on behalf of the serving side. So let the serving side decide what is acceptable to them. Right? So that brings me to the end of this presentation. So any questions?
Can you talk to you what is computer vision?
I'm sorry?
Do you do any computer vision work?
Computer?
Vision work? Computer vision related work, anything that you do?
Computer vision.
Vision.
Multimedia.
Oh,
Computer vision.
no. So no. So we don't do computer vision.
Some of the videos that are there, it's just dirty, like let's say when you go to the platform. You
Yeah.
can benefit like doing some computational photography.
Yeah, a lot of video. So let me rephrase my answer. Right. So the lot of video processing related work that happens. Okay. But that's not the focus of so what we do here. So there is a separate organization. So there's a video organization itself. So which basically handles the processing, ingestion, and then ensuring that transcoding and all the video processing related activities.
Okay, I have
Yep.
my question is, what advantage Yahoo Media properties has opposed to something like IMDb? Especially we talk about entities and content.
Right.
So like we have properties like movies, TV.
Yeah.
Does it give us an advantage over our competitors?
Yeah, so definitely. So I think so we have a significant advantage in terms of so number one, the content. So Yahoo is extremely rich in content. So we acquire not just the movies content, so we acquire different kinds of content, right? So one of the advantage is that so the example that I was giving earlier. So you go to a Prince of Persia page. So it is it's not just about so you would have information related to Prince of Persia. It could be, for example, a Prince of Persia book. It could be a Prince of Persia game, or it could be a shopping link, or the fact that it is running in the theater which is next to you, right? So it's so Yahoo. So the breadth of content is simply amazing, right? So we acquire all different kinds of content. So it's a unique opportunity. So where you can leverage all this content and provide us different. So IMDb provides fairly good experience, but providing a 360-degree view of the whole system by cross-promoting of content. So that's a unique opportunity, and it also has so challenges as well. So some of the challenges I talked about, right? So those are very real. So when you are trying to solve that problem, because now especially outside of your domain, so like a shopping, right? So the data is fairly unstructured, right? And news articles or book or so many different types of content. So the ability to link all this content together and do it at scale, and then make sure that so they are all fairly isolated and does not mess up with one system. So that's a very challenging task. So both the opportunity and challenge is there. So I think Yahoo Media is a unique place. So that way when compared with IMDb.
You expose any information externally to the API?
Yeah.
So there are APIs. Whether they are externally exposed, so there are a few which are externally exposed, but not all of them.
That is a key point of difference for IMDb.
Yeah, right. We cannot. I mean, so there are also licensing restrictions. These are all. So a lot of content is premium content. So by license agreements, so we are limited not to expose that content to the external parties. But there are also contents which are licensed to be distributed. So that those are possible to be exposed.
Do you allow external to use your platform? We also have actually a music population for talent parties, and we want to use some level of ranking and all for best music. Do you think Yahoo can use the platform to host the competition?
Yeah. So there are, as I said, so the exposure comes in two ways. So one is content could be exposed, right? So the other is the APIs or the platform where you build it can be exposed.
All the music will be stored in your system, and ranking algorithms will be run on your platform.
Not at the moment. So we don't expose. So there are content which gets exposed, but as a platform, so there are plans. So we are thinking about open sourcing some of the internal platforms that we have. So that's an ongoing exercise. So it will happen sometime eventually, but not at. Any other question? Okay, all right. So thanks a lot for patiently.